friends, it's Emily with you again today, and I'm going to be showing you a fun card using some patterned paper. This is Bushel and Peck from the new Feeling Fall collection from Catherine Pooler. Look at all these beautiful patterns. It's a play on apples, and I just love all these colors. They're so pretty, bright, and vibrant. So I'm going to be using some vellum and or acetate I was thinking about, but I think I decided on vellum. And what I'm going to do is try to make what's called a floating card. So I'm picking out different patterned papers, and I'm just going to trim them down into squares. So I'm doing 2" by 1 5/8" squares so that I can fit 6 total squares on the front of my card, which is actually going to be going on the vellum. So here I'm just grabbing my vellum sheets. If you've never used vellum before, it's really cool. It kind of reminds me, the closest thing I can think of is like parchment paper, so you can see my hand through there. So it's kind of see-through, but it's not like acetate where it's like a shiny for shaker card type. So I'm just measuring this out, my normal A2 size for the front of my card. So just the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And so that looks good. And now I'm just trimming down all of my squares that I just made. And so I'm going to end up putting them on the card. I'll show you an example. So just going through and trimming down every single pattern paper. I decided I wanted to use different pattern on every one. So you can see there how it's going to be on the vellum, and then we're going to put the vellum sheet on some foam to go onto the front of the card so it looks like it's kind of floating. So it's just a cool new effect for cards, especially with all this fun pattern paper. You could definitely do a certain design, like, using 2 different patterns or something like that. But I just wanted to do all of them because I'm a big fan of pattern paper and color, and I just love the way this looks. So now I'm just kind of lining it up on my vellum, just trying to see how the spacing looks or where I want which pattern. And I'm just kind of trimming down a couple spots here. I think a couple of my squares were a little bit off, and so just trimming a couple of them down, no big deal. And you could definitely measure this out and make it very precise, but I just feel like with card making, I just kind of eyeball it, and whatever looks good, I mean, it'll end up looking cool either way. So now I'm just adhering down my little squares with cherry tape, and the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to get any glue onto the vellum at all that would be shown, on the outside of the card. So just continuing along and just kind of lining them up, and here we go. There's my last one in the corner there. Look how cool that is. So you can kind of see through it a little bit, and that's going to go on the front of my card, and that's going to go with some foam. So I'm adding some cherry dots. And I like cherry dots. They're easy to rip the backing off, and that looks really cool. So before I put that on, I do want to find the stamps that I'd like to use for the inside of my card, and for the front of my card. But I like to sometimes just work on the inside, especially if I'm adding any foam to the outside. I like to kind of make sure I have the inside all set before I add anything onto the front, just in case it will hinder with my card making. So I'm using the color Deck the Halls with these big, beautiful stamps. I just love these stamps, and they also come with the die cuts, so you can just cut them out perfectly, which I love. And I decided on using some scrap, like light brown paper I had, just to see if I liked this color. And so I'm just running this through my Big Shot with the coordinating dies, and I just love these big fonts with that green color. I like that. That looks nice. And then here's the With All My Love, and these things are very versatile. They're very, you can make a bunch of different types of cards with them, which I really like. So it's not just for like fall. It's obviously could be like a birthday or like a sympathy card. I also decided to cut out the green in the white paper just because I liked the brown, but I wasn't sure about the brown for the front of my card because I liked how bright it was. I didn't want it to be, too dark. And so I decided on this. I really liked this diagonal striped paper, and I decided on this for the inside of my card, and I'm just going to keep the inside pretty simple here since I have this really fun design on the outside. I don't feel like it needs too much. And I'm again adhering this down with cherry tape. I think the benefit of cherry tape over glue is that it doesn't bubble the card at all. I like to use glue with little embellishments, obviously sequins, whatnot, stuff like that, but I do like the brown on the inside with that. So I'm going to use some cherry dots to give it a little lift. But yeah, with glue, sometimes, especially with big surface areas, I like to use tape instead just so it doesn't add any lumpiness. So just putting on my foam dots there, and that looks good. I do want to do the right side of my card, which will be the sentiment side. So now I have the It's a Girl color, just super pretty pink. And I'm just going to trim this down for the right side of my card. So somebody could write out their sentiments here if they wanted. I always love to add something a little different so that so people can write their sentiments on instead of it being just plain white. I like it to have a little bit of contrast, so that looks good. And I felt like the pink went really well with this. The pattern paper I was using on the inside and the outside as well. And there's the With All My Love. There's the inside. That looks really pretty. So now I'm just going to put my Sending Hugs on the front of my card with some mini dots, so it has a little more dimension. That looks super cool. So now I'm just taking the backing off my cherry dots here and carefully placing it on the front of my card. So this gives it that quote-unquote floating effect, but I kind of felt like it looks so pretty, kind of like a quilt with all those different colors, and just super cool. There's the inside of my card. That looks awesome. Look at all those pretty patterns, and then you can see from the side a little bit of lift, and it does kind of look like it's floating a little, kind of cute. All right, I hope you loved this. Thanks for watching.